Hello everyone, welcome back to the new video and a new topic. Our new topic is how to apply troubleshooting methodology. What is troubleshooting methodology? Troubleshooting in computers in step-by-step approach to identify and fix the problems. Here are some major things that you can do in troubleshooting. First, identify the problem. That means to understand what's wrong by observing error messages or unusual behavior. We can also gather the information. We need to check when the issue started and what changes were made recently. We can also reproduce the issue, try to recreate the problem to confirm its cause. Then we can check with the basic fixes like to restart the system, check cables, or ensure proper connections. We can also isolate the cause. That means to determine its hardware, software, or network related. We can find the research solution, like we need to look into for similar issues online or in the manuals. We can try testing possible fixes like apply solution one by one. For example, updating the driver or reinstalling them. Like we can check for the updates to ensure the drivers and software are up to date. We can also eliminate the variables like to disable unnecessary program or hardware to find the conflicts. Then we can document the solution, what worked for future references. We can seek help of experts if required. If this problem is unresolved, we need to consult the experts for the same. Let's understand about identifying the problem. Like gathering information from the users. We can gather information from the users regarding the environmental or infrastructure changes. Note, always remember to back up the files, folders, and your data before you apply any changes in the computer, or else you may end up losing your data. Now, let's understand about BIOS and UEFI. What is BIOS? BIOS means Basic Input Output System. It is the old firmware that starts your computer, checks hardware, and load the operating system. It uses a simple text-based interface and has slower boot times. However, UEFI, that is Unified Extensible Firmware Interface, is the modern replacement for BIOS. It supports faster booting, larger hard drives, a graphical interface with mouse support. There's a key difference between BIOS and UEFI. UEFI is usually faster, more secure, and supports newer hardware, while BIOS is outdated but still found in older systems. Let's understand about accessing the system setup. It means opening your computer hidden control panel in BIOS or UEFI to change hardware settings like boot order or date, time, etc. You can press the key F2 in the keyboard, DEL, delete, or ESC, escape key, right after turning on the PC. It lets you tweak how your system works before Windows or Linux starts. Now, boot and device options. Boot and device options are settings in your computer's BIOS UEFI that control how and where your system start up from. They let you choose the boot order. For an example, you want to boot from the hard drive, USB, or the DVD first, so you can install an operating system or troubleshoot. You can also enable, disable like USB port or network boot. These options help manage startup behavior for repairs, upgrades, or installations. Now, let's understand about the boot device selection and priority. It lets you choose which drive, HDD, SSD, or USB, etc., in your computer boots from first. It is useful for installing operating system or running the diagnostics. USB permissions. It controls whether USB devices like flash drive can boot or be accessed during startup. It helps prevent unauthorized access. Fan consideration. It adjusts cooling fan speed or monitor in BIOS or UEFI. It ensures proper cooling but may affect noise and performance. In this diagram, you can clearly see we can choose from the boot mode. All right, let's move on to the next topic. Boot passwords and secure boots. So what is a boot password? It is a security feature in BIOS or UEFI that require a password before the system startup to prevent unauthorized access to the computer. In this picture, you can clearly see system password is been required to boot the system. If you enable this feature, you need to give the password in order to access the system. What is secure boot? It is a UEFI security feature that ensures only trusted and digitally signed operating systems like Windows or Linux can boot, blocking malware or any unauthorized software from loading. Let me tell you about the key difference. A boot password locks the system, while secure boot verifies the operating system's integrity for safer startup. System password. A BIOS UEFI password that locks the entire system. It requires authentication before the computer even startup. User password. It is a secondary password that allows access to the operating system but doesn't restrict BIOS or UEFI changes. Secure boot. It is a security feature that ensures only trusted signed operating system can boot, blocking malware or unauthorized operating system modifications. Now we'll understand about the trusted platform modules. So what is a trusted platform module? Trusted platform module, that is TPM. It is a security chip in your motherboard that stores encryption keys, passwords, and certificates securely. It protects sensitive data like login details from hackers by keeping them locked away. TPM is used for features like Windows, BitLocker, and Secure Boot, ensuring safer logins and data protection. Without TPM, some security features won't even work. So you can see the TPM security option. Now we'll understand about the encryption and cryptographic keys. The encryption and cryptographic keys converts data into secure code using keys like digital lock and key to prevent the sensitive information. Hashes. Hashes are the unique digital fingerprints of data like a file or a password to verify integrity and detect tampering. Under trusted platform modules, what is the root of trust? It is a secure foundation like TPM that ensures all system security checks start from a trusted source. Secure key shortage. It safely holds encryption keys in hardware like TPM to prevent hacking or theft. Hardware Security Module HSM. HSM is a dedicated device or a chip that manages or generates and protects cryptographic keys from high security systems. Now, let's understand about the troubleshoot power issues. No power symptoms. It means device shows no response when powered is turned on. No indicator lights. It means power LED remains off, suggesting no electricity reaching the system. Fans do not start. It means the cooling fan fails to spin, indicating a power delivery failure to the fans. What are the possible causes? Circuit fault or power blackout? Check if other devices work on the same outlet to rule out external power issues. Socket fault. We need to test with another socket or device to confirm if the problem is with the power source, switches and cable connectors. Also inspect for loose, damaged or unplugged power cables and connectors. Overload and faulty devices. Disconnect all the peripherals to check if an external device is causing a short circuit. Power supply testing. Use a multimeter or swap PSU to verify if the power supply is functional. Now we will understand about to troubleshoot the post issue. Troubleshoot post issues. That is power on self-test. It is a diagnostic check performed by your computer BIOS or UEFI when you turn it on. It verifies if essential hardware like RAM, CPU, GPU, etc. is working properly before booting the operating system. If post fails, you may hear beep codes or see error messages indicating the problem. Black screen. In this issue, monitor stays dark, indicating possible GPU, RAM, or power failure. Failed firmware update. Corrupted BIOS or UEFI during update, breaking the system. Faulty cabling, connector, or device. It is due to loose or damaged cables, components, disrupting power or data. Check with the faulty PSU or CPU. Dead power supply or processor preventing the boot. Beep codes. Here, the BIOS beeps signaling specific hardware failures like RAM or GPU issues. Troubleshoot boot issues. Troubleshoot boot issues means fixing problem that stop your computer from starting properly. Check if cable, power, or hardware like RAM, SSD are connected correctly. Look for error messages or unusual beeps during startup. Try booting from a USB or recovery drive to test the operating system. If needed, reset BIOS settings or reinstall the operating system. Boot device. Boot device is the storage, HDD, SSD, USB, your PC tries to load the operating system from. Check if detected in BIOS. Boot sequence. The order in which the BIOS checks drives, USB, SSD, etc. for bootable operating system. It adjusts in BIOS if it is wrong. Power and data connectors and cabling. Check for loose or damaged cables that can prevent drives from being detected. Reseat or replace them. Boot sector. Check for small but critical dissection that starts the operating system. Corruption can block booting. For this, you can use the recovery tools to fix the problem. Damage to boot partition records. Here, file system errors that disrupt booting. It can be repaired via operating system recovery or disk tools. OS errors and crash screen. That means operating system errors and the screen showing a crash message. Here, the blue-black screen or error codes often hint at corrupt operating systems, drivers, or updates. Hardware fault or operating system driver fault. Failing RAM, SSD, or motherboard can mimic boot issues. Test with spare parts if possible. Operating system fault. Corrupt operating system files or drivers may crash boot. Try safe mode or reinstall the operating system. Now we'll learn about to troubleshoot the drive availability. So what is troubleshoot drive availability? It means to fix the issues when your computer can't detect or access a storage drive like HDD, SSD, or USB. Check if the drive appears in BIOS, UEFI, and if not, then inspect power, data cable, or try another port. If visible in BIOS but not in operating system, initialize format it like via disk management in Windows or disk utility in Mac. For sudden failures, test with diagnostic tools or try to drive on another PC to rule out hardware faults. Here I can recommend you how to quick fix the problem. You can reconnect a cable, check with the BIOS, format or repair, then test on another device. You may hear unusual noise. You can check by clicking or grinding sounds suggest a failing mechanical hard drive. Backup data immediately in case you hear such kind of noise from your system. Light emitting diode LED status indicators. Blinking lights show drive actively, but no light may mean power failure. No lead activity. That means the driver isn't receiving the power. Check cables or connections. Constant LED activity. That means drive may be stuck or malfunctioning. Restart or test the diagnostics. Missing drives in the operating system. Here, the drive is undetected in Windows or Mac. Check disk management or disk utility. Read-write failure. Here, the files can't be saved or copied. You need to run disk check or replace the drive. Blue screen of death. We can also call them BSOD. It means screen crash that link to drive errors. You need to update the drivers or check from disk correction. I will suggest you a quick tip. If the driver makes noise or overheats, back up the data as soon as possible to prevent any loss of the data. Now we'll understand about the troubleshoot drive reliability and performance. It means fixing slow or unstable storage drive like HDD and SSD. Check for disk errors using tools like CHK-DSK for Windows or First Aid for Mac. Monitor drive health via Smart Status. If warning appears, back up the data. Fragmented the HDD, slow performance. Defragment them. While failing SSD, may freeze or crash. Replace if it is required. Cleaning up storage space and update drivers for better speed. Now we'll understand about the self-monitoring analysis and reporting technology. We call it a SMART. It means a drive self-check system that warns of potential failure like overheating or bad sectors. It reports the error as well, like log issues, crashes, or slowdown to help identify failing the hardware. Vendor and third-party diagnostic utilities. Software, for example, Samsung Magician, Crystal Disk Mark, to test and fix drive problems. Input-output operations per second, IOPS measurement. It tracks how many read-write operations a drive handles per second. Low IOPs means poor performance. Benchmark performance without interference from the operating system or app process. We need to test pure drive speed using tools like ASSD by excluding operating system or application delays. Data loss corruption. Here, the file disappears or becomes unreadable due to drive failure. So you need to back up the data as soon as possible. Bad sectors and bad blocks. It is unusable drive areas causing errors. You need to repair with CHK, DSK or scanner tools. Backup and data recovery. So you need to save the data copies regularly. Use tools like test disk if files are lost. Here the trick. Smart warning plus slow speed is equal to replace the drive soon. So you need to replace the drive in case you are facing any such above issues. Now we'll understand about the troubleshoot performance issues. Troubleshoot performance issues means fixing a slow computer. Check for high-speed CPU, RAM usage in taskbar in Windows, or activity monitor in Mac. Clean up the storage, delete unused files, update the driver or operating system, and scan for malware. Overheating can throttle speed, so clean the fans and the vents. If still slow, consider upgrading RAM or switch to an SSD for overheating. You need to ensure fans are working and vents are dust-free. Overheating slows the performance of your computer. CPU throttling overheating. High temperature force your CPU to slow down. Monitor with tools like Core Temp. Check for misconfiguration. You can check the review settings, for example, power plans, background applications that may reduce the speed. So in recent days, what actually has changed? In recent updates, new software or hardware changes may cause the slowdown. So you need to check with all the recent work that you have done in your computer, what the changes that you have made in your computer to ensure that if any updates or software that are installed which are slowing down your PC, we need to get rid of them quickly. Now, verify the problem. Test. If the issue persists across the application, you can also reboot to confirm if it is not temporary. Use diagnostic software, tools like HW Monitor or User Benchmark. It measures the performance gaps. Identify upgrade and opportunities. Boost speed by upgrading the RAM, SSD, or network hardware. Rule out operating system, application, and network issue. Test in safe mode or with different networks to isolate the cause. So clean up and start up the application and background processes first. Often that fix the problem for your computer. That's all for today's module. We have completed the module 2. We'll come up with the module 3 soon. Till then, goodbye and have a nice day.